This one really hits hard because just when it felt like the 49ers were finally stabilizing on defense, another major piece goes down. The team confirmed that Tatum Bethune suffered a significant groin injury, and the reality is there's no sugarcoating this one. His season is done. Whether surgery ends up being required or not, he's not coming back for the postseason. And that immediately creates a massive problem in the middle of the defense. This isn't just losing a starter. This is losing the guy who was already stepping in for Fred Warner and holding things together in one of the most demanding roles on the field. When Bethune was pressed into action earlier, he handled an impossible situation about as well as you could reasonably ask. Replacing a player like Fred Warner is never clean or comfortable, but Bethune brought discipline, toughness, and enough reliability to keep the defense functional. Now that safety net is gone, and suddenly, in the biggest games of the year, the 49ers are staring at life with their third middle linebacker. That's not a theoretical concern. That's the reality heading into a road playoff game against a team that lives and breathes physical football. This is where the story takes a sharp turn, because the 49ers clearly anticipated something like this. When Eric Kendricks was signed to the practice squad back in November, it wasn't random. It wasn't just a depth move. The front office understood that linebacker attrition was a real risk, and they wanted experience waiting in the wings. Now that moment has arrived. Kendricks is no longer insurance. He's the plan. And the defense will rise or fall based on how well he can step in and command the middle. Before we go any further, let me ask you this. When you heard Bethune was officially out, did your confidence in this defense drop immediately? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm really curious how fans are feeling about this right now. And if you want real-time updates and playoff breakdowns like this all postseason long, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on. We're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you matters. The biggest concern here isn't just talent, it's communication. The middle linebacker is the traffic cop of the defense. Alignments, adjustments, run fits, all of it flows through that position. Losing continuity at that spot can snowball fast if it's not handled correctly. That's why what happens next is so critical. The good news is the 49ers aren't turning to a rookie or an unknown. The bad news is that familiarity and chemistry can't be rushed. In the next part, we're going to break down Eric Kendricks, why the team trusts him, and why his experience might be the one thing keeping this defense from unraveling at the worst possible time. Reply with C when you're ready to move on. When Eric Kendricks steps onto the field now, he's not just another linebacker filling a jersey. He's the anchor. And the reason the 49ers can even survive a blow, like losing Tatum Bethune, is because Kendricks isn't learning how to be a linebacker in the NFL. He's been doing this at a high level for a long time. That matters more than ever when you're talking about playoff football, hostile environments, and offenses that are going to test every mental mistake you make. What's interesting about Kendricks is that his story with the 49ers didn't start in November. This actually goes back to the offseason, when San Francisco targeted him as a potential solution after Dre Greenlaw went down. At that time, the fit just wasn't right. Kendricks saw himself as a middle linebacker, the 49ers needed help on the weak side, and both sides moved on. That door never fully closed, though. When he became available later in the year, the 49ers brought him in quietly, understanding that experience like his doesn't just disappear. Now, that patience looks like foresight. Kyle Shanahan made it clear that the team has real confidence in Kendricks. He's been in the system long enough to understand the terminology. He's been active on game days the past few weeks. And in the snaps he's played, he's done exactly what you'd want. Nothing flashy, nothing reckless, just solid football. That's important because right now, the 49ers don't need a superhero at linebacker. They need stability. They need someone who gets everyone lined up, who knows when to be aggressive and when to live for the next down. At the same time, there's no ignoring the risk here. Kendricks hasn't been playing full-time snaps in this defense all season. Chemistry matters, especially between the middle linebacker and the defensive line in run fits. One missed assignment against a physical team can turn into a back-breaking play. That's the tightrope the 49ers are walking. The hope is that Kendricks' experience shortens that adjustment window enough to keep the defense intact. Let me ask you this. Do you trust Eric Kendricks to hold this defense together in the playoffs, or are you worried the lack of reps will show up at the worst time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of the biggest swing factors in the entire game. And if you appreciate this kind of straight, no-nonsense breakdown, hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow, and it gets us closer to that 1,000 subscriber goal. The reality is, Kendricks doesn't have to do everything himself. But he does have to be the steady presence in the middle while everything else around him feels unstable. And that brings us to the next concern, because even with Kendricks stepping in, the linebacker room as a whole is under serious pressure right now. Reply with C when you're ready, and we'll dig into just how thin this unit really is and why that matters so much in this matchup. See, even with Eric Kendricks stepping into the middle, the bigger issue is that the linebacker room around him is suddenly hanging by a thread. This is where the situation starts to feel a lot more fragile. Dre Greenlaw's replacement depth was already being tested, and now injuries are stacking up fast. Dwyer, who actually leads the team in tackles, is dealing with an ankle injury that knocked him out early in the last game. He only played a fraction of the defensive snaps, and his availability is still very much in question. If he can't go, or if he's limited, that's another major hit to consistency and physicality. Then, there's Luke Gifford, a core special teams player who also provides emergency depth at linebacker. He's dealing with a quad issue, and his status is uncertain as well. These are the kinds of injuries that don't always get headlines, but they absolutely change how a coaching staff has to approach a game plan. When your depth players are banged up, your margin for error disappears. Suddenly, rotations shrink, fatigue becomes a factor, and every missed tackle feels heavier. That's how players like Garrett Wallow and Curtis Robinson come into the conversation. Wallow was brought in primarily for special teams, but circumstances forced him onto the field for meaningful defensive snaps. To his credit, he competed, but there's a difference between surviving a few snaps and being targeted in a playoff game. Offenses know who the weak links are, and they will hunt them relentlessly. Curtis Robinson is another option, but again, this is not where you want to be depth-wise in January. This is also where communication becomes just as important as talent. Linebackers are responsible for fitting the run correctly, passing off coverage responsibilities, and reacting instantly to motion and misdirection. When multiple guys are in and out of the lineup, those split-second decisions get harder. Against a physical, well-coached opponent, that can snowball quickly. So here's the big question. Can this linebacker group, as currently constructed, survive 4 quarters without becoming the obvious point of attack? Yes or no? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you're still watching right now, make sure you're subscribed. We're chasing 1,000 subscribers, and this playoff run is exactly what this channel was built for. Because the truth is, the opponent isn't going to take it easy. In fact, the next challenge might be the most punishing one the 49ers could possibly face, and it all revolves around one player who's going to test the middle of this defense over and over again. This is where everything comes to a head. Because if you're the Eagles and you're looking at this 49ers defense, you know exactly where you want to apply pressure. It starts with Saquon Barkley. Even though his numbers aren't what they were at his absolute peak, he is still the engine of this offense, and the player everything revolves around. The Eagles want to run the ball, control the game, and force the 49ers to prove they can hold up in the middle. With the linebacker situation the way it is, you can bet that's where the test is coming first. Barkley's production has dipped compared to past seasons, but that doesn't mean he's any less dangerous. What makes him so difficult to defend is the combination of patience, power, and explosiveness. One missed gap, one late fill, and he's through the second level. That's especially concerning when you're dealing with new faces, limited reps, and communication that hasn't been stress-tested over a full game together. The Eagles don't need him to break off a 70-yard run. They need 5, 6, 7 yards at a time, keeping the defense on the field and wearing it down. For the 49ers, this becomes the first box they absolutely have to check. If they can't slow down the run, nothing else matters. Pass rushers lose their impact, play action becomes lethal, and the defense is constantly reacting instead of dictating. That puts even more responsibility on Kendricks to diagnose quickly and get everyone where they need to be. It also puts pressure on the defensive line to be disciplined and keep the linebackers clean. Let me ask you this. Do you think the 49ers can keep Saquon Barkley under 100 rushing yards in this game? Yes or no? Drop your vote in the comments. And if you believe this defense can rise up when it matters most, hit the like button. It helps more than you think, and it pushes us closer to that 1,000 subscriber milestone. What makes this matchup so critical is that it's not just about stopping one player. It's about sending a message early. If the 49ers can win first down, force longer second and third downs, and make the Eagles play from behind the chains, the entire tone of the game changes. Suddenly, the pressure shifts. But if Barkley gets going early, the night gets long in a hurry. And while the defense is dealing with all of this, there's another layer to the story that can't be ignored. Because the 49ers' ability to survive this game also depends heavily on who is and isn't on the field offensively. The bigger picture here is that the 49ers are walking a very thin line. And it's not just on defense. Offensively, the difference between having key players available and not having them is massive. Trent Williams missed the last game with a hamstring injury, and his absence was felt on almost every snap. Protecting Brock Purdy's blind side without him changes how you can call plays, how long routes can develop, and how comfortable the quarterback feels in the pocket. The hope is that Williams can return, because when he's out there, this offensive line goes from solid to legitimately imposing. The same goes for Ricky Pearsall. His knee issue kept him out, and that took away a critical element of the passing game. He's not just another receiver in the rotation. His ability to create separation, threaten defenses vertically, and beat man coverage opens things up for everyone else. Without him, the offense becomes easier to defend. When he's healthy, the unit has balance and explosiveness that's hard to replicate. If the 49ers want to make real noise in the postseason, they need both Williams and Pearsall back on the field. The good news is Brock Purdy came out of the last game clean. After taking a tough hit late, there was concern. But he's not on the injury report, and that matters a lot heading into a playoff environment that carries plenty of history for him. Stability at quarterback gives this team a fighting chance, no matter who's missing. Elsewhere. Then there's Fred Warner. Right now, the message is clear. He's not coming back immediately. The earliest realistic conversation about his return only happens if the 49ers survive multiple road games. That's the challenge. Win now. worry about help later. This team has to earn the opportunity to even think about getting its defensive leader back. So here's the final question I'll leave you with. Do you believe the 49ers can survive these injuries and win 2 road games to put themselves in position to get Fred Warner back? Let me know in the comments. And if you've stuck with me this far, make sure you're subscribed, hit like, and help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. We're covering every step of this playoff run, no matter how long it lasts.